All right, we're in for another treat. We have Lucas Wilson from ASG that's going to be coming up and talking a little bit about some immersive world and production at scale. So Lucas, why don't you come up? ASG is doing some phenomenally interesting things when it comes to production and the capabilities that are really required to be able to produce and deliver the kinds of experiences that we need and all want. Lucas?
Hello, everyone. Hold on, let me set down all my stuff. That picture that you see is actually me in my shed in British Columbia, which is where I live. I live in Victoria, BC. And they said, hey, send us a picture. And I was like, okay. And I sent one, and that was it. So there you go. What you see back there is a fan, right? Because I have no AC. That's my vinyl. That's a plant that I'm desperately trying to keep alive. But welcome to my world. Okay. So the point, first of all, thanks everybody for showing up and for listening to me chat. I have 15 minutes to tell you about the future. So I hope to be able to do that, and I'll also predict some stocks while I'm here. So I live in Canada. I can predict the U.S. stocks, and I can just yeet back over the border. All right. Okay. So ASG. I think everybody here probably knows who ASG is, but ASG is basically 4 businesses wrapped up in a trench coat, wrapped up in one. It is managed services, systems integration, a VAR reseller business, in cloud, AI, and fancy things. And what that has done has allowed ASG to be, I'm a producer by trade. I ran a production company called Supersphere, and we did what I call all the R's, VR, AR, MR, XR. And we've run live streams for almost 250 artists, everybody from people you've never heard of and places you've never heard of, to Paul McCartney, Billie Eilish, the Foo Fighters, Post Malone, Chance the Rapper, Offset, Young Thug, Kanye. We've worked with pretty much everybody in the music and esports industries doing live production in VR, AR, and high resolutions. I first came to ASG wanting to do cloud production, and as you may or may not know, there's a fair amount of hot air in the cloud production world, so I called a lot of people and asked them to show me what they got because I wanted to do cloud production. And ASG is a group of people that has really solid engineers, really solid engineering, and can actually do it. So I started working with ASG to do business development for the cloud team because they have a product that works. And as opposed to hot air, it is. There's a customer that ASG has. When you think high-level esports in high-level production, chess is not usually the thing that comes to mind for you. But chess.com has an all-remote production workforce that's using ASG's virtual truck as well as a lot of their own technology. They do 300 broadcasts a year. They are doing multi-continent live streaming, concurrent live streaming with up to 90 cameras across 6 continents, 15 languages, 50 million active users, and they're doing all of that remotely. There's not a single production truck anywhere in the mix. They obviously have cameras and microphones because you still need that to show pictures of the humans, but everything else is done remotely. So they are the best example I can think of a company that is using cloud production technology to the fullest extent. If I didn't tell you it was chess.com and I said, hey, we have a customer that's running, they're doing 300 shows a year. They're doing, they have a couple of 8ME switchers filled up. They're doing 80 or 90 cameras across 4 or 5 continents, concurrently managing latency, sync, and all those inputs and putting out a show. You'd be like, holy crap. And then you say chess.com, you're like, what? But if you think about it, chess is one of the oldest sports in the world. And esports at a certain level are people looking at screens and playing things on those screens. And chess.com is quite possibly the biggest esports network on the planet. And they're doing it on an ASG backbone along with their own technology. And that's working almost 24/7, zero downtime. And I say that to highlight that cloud production and decentralized production at scale is not just something that ASG is talking about, it's something that's happening and something that we're actively doing and actively producing. The virtual truck, which is what it is based on, well, it is, that's a misnomer. It's not entirely based on the virtual truck. But the virtual truck is a product that ASG has, which is, if you think of a physical truck, when a physical truck rolls up, it is, how many of you have been on a physical truck in a physical broadcast? I figured there'd be a high number of people here that had. When you walk into a truck, you walk from back to front, and it's a series of production consoles doing different parts of a broadcast, all operating in sync. And then you also have, obviously, the Jenny and the satellite and everything else that goes with the truck. The virtual truck is the same thing. We have a truck in the cloud that is production switching, video, graphics, replay, audio, comms. It's all the things that you're used to in a production truck, but it's operating on a cloud basis. And the main things you have to deal with, and if you asked Mike from chess.com, what are the primary problems that he has? Latency and sync. Right? But those are known engineering challenges that are not, I won't say easily fixed, but they are known engineering challenges that can be addressed and can actually work. Right? So the virtual truck is something that you spin up and spin down, and as a producer, I help put the virtual truck into production boxes, right? I know what needs to go in those line items when you're hiring a truck. So any producer that comes and talks to ASG, or a production company that comes and talks to ASG, I can help it make sense to them in terms of, and the ASG team can help it make sense to them in terms of, okay, here's where you're spending your money on your truck, here's where you're spending your money on Jennies and satellite, and here's how we're going to make it easier for you and less expensive for you and faster for you. And for those that care, some people don't, but for those that care, it is also infinitely more environmentally friendly. If you're wheeling up a 53-footer and a diesel Jenny and a sat truck, you're burning a lot. Whereas if you're spinning up some instances for a virtual truck and you spin them up, and then when you're done, you spin them down, then you're taking up a lot less power and energy. And your TD can operate from their living room. They can operate from whatever environment they're in. And it also, if you're dealing with spreading people across, if you're dealing with talent sourcing, then you're also not dealing with T&E. You're not dealing with flying people in, having to put them up and then fly them out. And when your TD or your A1 is done with one show, they can literally go get lunch and start another show if they want. So this is the way the world is moving. How quickly you want to move to that world is up to you. But that is the way the world is moving. And I feel that the sooner people get on board, the better. So what's next? This is obviously my predicting the future, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a preview of what me and a few other people are going to be talking about at NAB as well, in a couple of engineering presentations and also at Post-Production World. More. That's what everybody wants, right? This is a change that I think I see a lot of gray hair in here. Not all gray hair, but I see a lot of gray hair or no hair in here. And if you have gray hair or no hair in here, then chances are you've been through this same battle before. This is going way back. This is pre-press to Photoshop. This is film to video. This is linear to nonlinear. This is film to digital. This is another seismic shift in how creative technology happens. And this shift is from on-prem to cloud. And it's a big shift, and with a sprinkling of various AI stuff all over the place, right? But the shift from on-prem to decentralized is a big shift. It's a seismic shift, and it will fundamentally change how people approach production, how people approach how they scale production, and how people approach what's possible and what you can ramp up when and how. Because on a physical truck, if you roll in a physical truck and you're like, hey, I need to add a switcher, or I need to add this, or I need to add that, you can't. You got what you got, right? Well, on a virtual truck, if you get close to production, and as we all know, productions are really normal, natural places that never have last-minute requests and last-minute ads, right? If you're on a production and somebody says, hey, crap, we've got, we just spin up a drone, we've got this new thing, we got to do this. Oh, there's a new stage over here that we got to ramp up. Can we ramp that up? Then it's a question of, sure. And you can ramp up, and you can smoothly roll up a new instance and be able to have that capability. And we also partner with, because you still need the cameras, we have partners on the ground that are experienced production partners. Sorella is our first signed production partner that actually has the cameras and the comms and all the stuff on the ground that you need. When you roll the truck, you have the truck and you have the gear. Well, the virtual truck is virtual, and we still have the gear component that is tightly integrated with the virtual truck. And what that also allows you to do is, if any of you have ever been through ramping up a truck or ramping up a physical infrastructure from HD to 4K, well, first of all, from NTSC to HD, and then HD to 4K, you know that is, it sounds like something that should be easy, but it is a non-trivial request. Ramping up a physical plant from HD to 4K is a nightmare. It's hard, it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of expense. With a virtual truck, it is, most of the time, it's really just more pipes. It's bigger bandwidth. Now, the software that runs in the truck also has to be capable of running those higher resolutions. But we can go from an HD truck to a 4K truck in, a couple of minutes, as opposed to now say that you're trying to do that with a physical truck, if all of a sudden you need to go 4K. And that also allows you to do things like the higher resolutions and more stuff. I mean, the broadcast world is still largely HD, right? The broadcast world is still largely HD. There is a lot of 4K out there, but really the vast infrastructure of physical plant is HD. But in the world of online delivery, in the special venues world, and in the special theaters world, things like the Sphere and Cosm, things like that are popping up, those are all weird resolutions, high resolutions, higher frame rates. It's more, right? And it's all about more immersion to me. More immersion is anything that makes you feel content more, right? Because that's the business we're in. If you're not taking a step to make your audience feel more, then what are you doing? Then find another industry, because that's the ultimate point of everything that we're doing here. Whether you're creative or whether you're cabling or whether you're an A2 out in the field, it's all about bringing people a better experience. And so the virtual truck, this is stuff that we're doing with real customers that we're figuring out. Multicam 8K stereo. Stereoscopic has reared its ugly head once again. Many years ago, I worked for James Cameron at Cameron Pace Group, and I worked in the stereo world professionally for a while. And when stereo is done well, it's fantastic. There's a lot of bad stereo out there, but when it's done well, it's fantastic. And with the advent of headset devices that are coming into play, stereoscopy once again is important and is coming to light again in a lot of different productions in a lot of different areas. So we're dealing with multicam 8K stereo in an actual switched environment. Worldwide transmission, because one of the benefits of being in the cloud is that once signals are up there, it's a little easier to distribute. Cloud production, and the same thing as I mentioned before with chess.com, these are decentralized production people and decentralized executives. And the reason I mention decentralized executives is because you always have people that need to approve, or you always have people that need to, if you're dealing with a contribution situation, you always have people that need to be there, need to approve, need to see things, so we can split those signals and make them go anywhere and anyhow. And this is all real. This is all happening now. This is not stuff we're talking about. This is actual production. That's another fun one. A 12K live stream. 12K for reasons. But 12K is dealing with very large screens and very large transmission, and not dealing with too much compression. You're trying to put as many pixels on the screen as possible. So this is a live cut. This is a standard production multicam live cut situation that's dealing with 12K production. Again, I want some of you to think about how in the world do you make a physical truck do 12K? Right? There are limitations to hardware that you have in a physical truck, and I worked as an A1 and A2 on trucks for a long time. I love truck life. It's fun, and there is a certain magic to everybody being in that same smelly enclosure and doing a show together. There's a certain magic to that that's very hard to duplicate. But the reality is that this is the way the world is moving. Decentralized production is the way the world is moving. There will always be shows that need a physical presence for various reasons. The physical truck world is not disappearing. Nothing in this industry is a binary. Nothing just goes away overnight or you flip the switch overnight. That just doesn't happen. But this world will start to become more and more present. And this one is interesting because it's 4K stereo, which is a little quote-unquote easier to do. But dealing with HDR in the cloud and dealing with HDR and how you move that metadata around and how you represent those pixels and how you deal with that both in the cloud and to delivery is an interesting challenge that I'm not sure. I don't know everything, but I'm not sure anybody's done this before. So this will be a first. Mixed geometry means that it is a combination of, I don't know how many of you have ever shot VR or seen a VR video that is on a flat screen, but it's called equirectangular geometry. It looks like a Mercator projection, like a map pressed flat. Dealing with, and what everybody is used to with quote-unquote normal cameras, that's called rectilinear geometry. Mixing equirectangular and rectilinear geometry in real time and making sure that you can flip back and forth and put everything onto one canvas and send that out either as rectilinear or as equirectangular in real time is a challenge. And I'm running out of time, so what have we learned from doing all these weird things? It's no magic, man. Anybody here, including me, anybody here that's ever sat in a truck wiring up cables and making sure that signals get from point A to point B with minimal hiccup? This all boils down to fundamental engineering, right? This all boils down to, measure twice, cut once, right? It's all tech that is just don't believe. There's a lot of BS in the future tech world. It all comes down to testing, verifying, and making sure that your signal's getting from point A to point B in the way that you expect, and putting in proper QA and QC steps along each step of the workflow to make sure that when a problem happens, you can analyze it quickly. We have cloud EICs at ASG. For those of you that don't know, an EIC is an engineer in charge. It's the grumpiest and most important person on a truck. Because they're the one that knows where the bodies are buried on that truck, and they're the ones that are like, oh yeah, that friggin' router, bam, you know. And we have cloud EICs that serve the same function as a broadcast EIC on a truck. They know that cloud infrastructure backwards and forwards and can be an EIC and fix things in productions. I say that because, as you all know, the world of technology is right now moving at a speed that nobody can keep up with, and it's almost impossible to be in this world and not be afraid of, oh my God, what happened yesterday? What is this deep whatever thing that's happening that's apparently making NVIDIA stock drop? What the hell is going on? I have a production to get through tomorrow, right? But again, this all boils down to basic engineering. Analyze new technologies, see if they fit in your workflow. Don't believe the hype. Put them in, test them, verify them, build them, right? This, I think, has become more important now than at almost any time in the past. It used to be that you could kind of rely on NAB and IBC in the broadcast world, and that would be kind of when people released new stuff, and you'd get like a month or two to sort of ramp up to the new build, and you could sort of phase it into your technology. That is absolutely not the case anymore. Things are happening at breakneck speed, and you absolutely have to stay current. The way I do it, this works for me. I pick one or two people that write articles that I like, and in each particular world, in cloud and AI and whatever. I read them once a week or so, and then go see if anything's interesting for me. But while I say don't believe the hype, I mean, there is a lot of cool stuff out there. And in this world, especially in cloud and AI, there are things happening almost every week that there's some new innovation coming out, and you're like, well, that's cool. I need to keep an eye on that. But I think, as we all know, there's a big difference between innovation coming out and innovation being realized and having it ready for production. Right? There's a big difference between code that sort of works, kind of, sort of, sometimes about 50% of the time, and something that I can put in production and have it be bulletproof and not have to worry about it. So it's important to keep in mind new technologies and what's going on with new technologies, while at the same time being sort of constantly skeptical. And I think I only have 15 minutes, right? So I'm done. So I talked very fast. That is how you get a hold of me if anybody has any further questions. And the one very, very quick thing, I'll stop real quick, is that, remember everybody, how many of you have a VR headset? A lot of people. Okay. I'm telling you that we're about 2 years away from that technology being here, and that will be the next seminal shift. When you can put these on and that world is around you, that changes how we all communicate. The only reason VR headsets exist is because they are glasses, but all the compute around them is too heavy, too power consumptive, and too expensive to be put in anything other than a headset. Ray-Ban Metas, get one, learn that technology. That's what's next. Thank you very much.